Hey, it's Aaron, and today I want to talk about the 2026 Chevy Silverado EV. So I just drove this last year, did a review. Not a whole lot changes this year, but Chevy did add a Trail Boss model, and I drove that. So a little more off-road. Mostly it's the tires, but there are a couple of changes underneath with as far as protective gear and so on. There's also a standard range trim that's being offered, which has a smaller battery and a cheaper price tag. That one is available in two options, one of which is the work truck, which is really only going to be available as a commercial sale. The other one is the LT, which is the base model consumer version of the Chevrolet Silverado. So the consumer version starts at about $63,000. If you can get to the commercial work truck version, which has far less equipment on it, you're looking at about $55,000 for that. Most people are probably going to be in the extended range models, probably the LT, which starts at about a little over $71,000. The Trail Boss that I drove was actually the next step up, and I would highly recommend considering that if you want a little more aggressive look. And that starts at only $72,000 and some change. So it's not too big of a step from that base model to go up to the Trail Boss. And I found it well outfitted as is. I didn't need a whole lot of extra stuff. You can get extra stuff, but you don't really need it. The one thing I would recommend is getting the bed cover. The one that I had is the roll forward kind. I believe there is also a sliding that you can get. I would not recommend that because it removes from the back wall. So it's harder to take off when you want to fold down that back wall and have a big space to put your stuff in. One of the coolest things about the Silverado EV is that the back wall of the cabin can disassemble and fold forward. The back glass comes out, has a storage spot, and then the whole wall can fold forward once the seats are down. Really cool because it takes that sport bed and turns it into an 8-foot bed. So if you've got a lot of stuff to haul, I used it just to haul a screen door, which isn't a big deal, but it was nice to be able to put the whole thing in and close it all up. Which meant, with the bed cover on and all of that, we could stop and do some shopping at other stores and not have anything just hanging out there waiting for, $500 screen door just sitting there waiting to be stolen. So really cool there. I really like the whole design of this pickup truck. It's my favorite electric pickup right now. I just like the little ergonomics that were done, the things that were done to make it a working truck. So it doesn't have, it's not uber electric. Other than the look, it kind of has an Avalanche look, throwing back a little bit to the Chevrolet Avalanche back in the day. Other than that, it's really great. So the range will vary according to the batteries. So the base model, I think, is 284 miles of range. So that's the standard range. And then you go all the way up to 440 miles. Now, I always grain of salt on those EPA numbers. Happens with gasoline vehicles as well. The EPA numbers are rarely what you actually get in the real world. The range on this with an electric vehicle, I usually just say 20% less. So with this, you're still going to get over 400, over 200 and over 400. Probably get close to 250 with the base one, and you'll probably get somewhere in the 400-ish with the next one up. So with the bigger battery. So I had no problem getting really good range out of this thing. And I was able to get somewhere in the 49 kilowatt hours per on this, which is for every 100 miles. And that's a pretty good number. That's a lot more efficient than the Hummer that's very similar to this in terms of all of its design. But the Hummer is far heavier than the Silverado EV. Over 1,000 pounds heavier. It's I don't remember all the numbers, but it's bulky by comparison. There are 5 different pickup trucks on the market for electric options, and the Silverado EV is my favorite as far as working trucks go, so a truck that can do things that trucks should be able to do. It's got smart ergonomics for like the aforementioned back wall folding down, stuff like that. Stepping into the bed is pretty easy in this. Getting in and out of it normally is pretty easy. That's even with the new Trail Boss package that adds 2 inches of lift to this. Most of that comes from the larger tires. It's running 35s, I believe they are. They might be 33s. I think they're 33s actually. But anyway, even with that, it's easy to get in and out of this truck. The interior is just really well done. Now, my other favorite electric truck is the Rivian. I just don't see the Rivian as much of a working truck in terms of you're going to take it out and do truck stuff with it as I do this Chevrolet. The Ford Lightning is okay, but I'm not as bullish on it. I don't think the Lightning has as much usefulness, especially just because of that short bed, terrible towing. The towing is super short range. You're going to be lucky to get 100 miles out of that for towing. Whereas with this one, the Silverado, you're going to get a lot more than that out of your towing. You're still going to kill your battery by probably close to 2/3, which is true of every electric that I've ever towed with. But you're going to have faster charging and a little more range because it does have more range than that Ford. So I really like the Silverado EV. I drove it last year in the standard form and then this year in this new Trail Boss. Really like the Trail Boss setup. I think it makes it look really cool, especially those aggressive tires and other things. They do subtract from your range, but I think it's worth it in terms of the looks. And then the packaging is just really well done. So overall, really big fan of the Silverado EV. I think Chevrolet has done a great job here. The most expensive version of this truck is a little over $91,000, but I think most people are going to be buying somewhere in the $72,000 for this Trail Boss package. You can get a cheaper version of this truck. So like I said before, consumer grade version of this is about $63,000. That's not that bad, especially considering the way the market is right now. That LT standard range truck is about as good as the mid-range Silverado in any of its gasoline formats. So very well done. Really like this. I think Chevy's done a very good job with the Silverado EV and highly recommend it. So yeah, there you go. That's what I got. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon.